Hello, and a warm welcome to the African News Network, your go-to source for the latest news updates and events from around the African continent and beyond. I'm your host, Cynthia Nivyoandi. Let's go right into today's top story. Today, we take a look into the latest human rights reports and the ongoing accusations against African countries by international organizations. We'll examine the recent Amnesty International report on Nigeria and the controversy surrounding Rwanda's treatment of asylum seekers. These reports raise significant questions about the relationship between African nations and global human rights bodies. Firstly, Amnesty International has released a report accusing the Nigerian military of detaining and mistreating women and girls who survived Boko Haram captivity. The report, titled Help Us Build Our Lives, Girl Survivors of Boko Haram and Military Abuses in Northeast, recently released, presents alarming allegations. It states that the military has held women and girls, some as young as 12, in overcrowded and unsanitary conditions without access to medical care or legal representation. The report is based on 126 interviews with girls and young women who were associated with Boko Haram. It details abuses and violations of international humanitarian and human rights laws committed by both Boko Haram and the Nigerian authorities. Many of these survivors who were abducted and forced into marriages or sexual slavery are reportedly being detained on suspicion of being affiliates of the terrorist group. The Nigerian Defense Headquarters has strongly refuted these allegations. They emphasized their commitment to operating within the bounds of international law and humanitarian principles. The military has urged Amnesty International to provide evidence to substantiate their claims. Under the leadership of General Christopher Musa, the Nigerian military asserts a zero-tolerance policy on any form of indiscipline or improper conduct. This clash highlights a long-standing issue: the friction between international human rights organizations and national governments, particularly in African countries. These reports often paint a grim picture of human rights conditions, prompting critical reactions from the accused nations. Turning to Rwanda, the government has cited the UN refugee agency UNHCR of dishonesty. This accusation follows UNHCR's testimony in a British court arguing that Rwanda's asylum system is inadequate and could lead to asylum seekers being relocated to countries where they might face torture or death. The case challenges the British government's policy of deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda, which has been deemed unlawful by the UK Supreme Court. Rwanda's government has vehemently denied these claims, accusing the UNHCR of fabricating allegations. They argue that the UNHCR's criticisms are inconsistent with their ongoing partnership to relocate African migrants from Libya to safety in Rwanda through the emergency transit mechanism. According to Rwanda, many of the cases cited by the UNHCR involved individuals who did not meet entry requirements or left Rwanda voluntarily. Cases such as where the UNHCR unilaterally granted asylum to a man denied asylum in the Seychelles without consulting the Rwandan government, and claims that they denied asylum to Burundians, whereas these individuals breached immigration laws and did not seek asylum. It is also noteworthy to mention Rwanda currently provides refuge to tens of thousands of its Burundian neighbors. The Rwandan government asserts that the UNHCR is determined to undermine Rwanda's safety in UK courts, despite Rwanda's agreements with the UK to process asylum seekers. And the nation has reaffirmed its commitment to international refugee protections and providing refuge to those fleeing conflict, as it has done for the past 30 years. This situation raises important questions. Are international organizations unfairly targeting African countries? Do these reports accurately reflect the realities on the ground, or do they perpetuate negative stereotypes? Historically, African nations have often been portrayed in a negative light by international bodies. These portrayals can overshadow the efforts and progress made within these countries. Critics argue that such reports sometimes lack context and fail to acknowledge the complexities and challenges faced by those nations. In the case of Nigeria, while the allegations are serious and warrant thorough investigation, the Nigerian government's efforts to combat Boko Haram and restore stability in the region should also be recognized. Similarly, Rwanda's commitment to providing refuge to thousands of migrants from conflict zones must be acknowledged alongside the criticisms of their asylum policies. In conclusion, these reports and the responses they elicit underline the need for a balanced and nuanced approach. International organizations play a crucial role in highlighting human rights abuses, but it is equally important to consider the perspectives and efforts of the nations involved. The goal should always be to promote justice, human rights, and constructive dialogue. We'll continue to follow these stories and more here on the African News Network, on our website, mobile app, and social media platforms. I'm Cynthia Nifiwandi. Thank you for joining us.